From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to Beat the Champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
It's Beat the Champ, second week here at Transit Lanes in Williamsville. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of one of the country's longest-running local bowling shows. And whenever we come here, Sue, we always seem to have a star emerge, and I think we're starting to get one because Rocket Rob Piccoli comes in on a three-match winning streak, one of the hottest bowlers in town, and a guy who looks like he is ready to stick around for a while.
Right, yeah, we talked about it last week, how his game has really evolved, and we've actually watched him just improve and turn into this bowler right in front of our eyes from week to week.
Yeah, and we've got a rather inexperienced group of challengers, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything because we've seen guys come out of nowhere and rattle off wins of their own, but the three bowlers that Rob potentially will face are guys that haven't had a lot of experience on this show.
Right, so is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? I mean, he's got really no preconception of what he's dealing with, and there's no little mental challenges going on or, you know, how we faced each other last month. But, you know, one of the bowlers, Justin Schwab, has literally grown up in this center. I mean, he's bowled juniors in this center, he's worked in the center, he's been here his whole life, and there's going to be no one more comfortable here than him. So.
All right, so he may be making his TV show debut. He is certainly not making his debut here at Transit Lanes. Branden Simone and Ray Richards are our other challengers for this week. We'll have to see whether you're not erasing Rob's name off the Castellone scoreboard.
Yeah, he was on a hot streak, and he's the buzzsaw these guys are possibly going to run into.
All right, so will Rob Piccoli be able to keep this streak going, or will we get a new challenger and a new guy to emerge and start his own streak? It is time to find out. Let's get rolling. So it's Branden Simone to challenge Rocket Rob Piccoli in match number one here at Transit Lanes. It's the Beat the Champ debut for the 26-year-old from Cheektowaga, Branden Simone, and we're anxious to see exactly what kind of a bowler he is and see whether he is up to the challenge of knocking off a red-hot guy with a lot of confidence, which is Rob Piccoli.
He's a full-time student at UB. No word as to whether he bowls with UB.
No, but I'll tell you a little bit about some of his past background because he has been a college national champion before, and there's a good start for Branden Simone. We'll fill you in on a little bit of his background in just a moment. And now here's Rob Piccoli making his 10th different appearance here on Beat the Champ, and thanks to the three-match winning streak from last week, he has evened up his Beat the Champ record at 8 wins and 8 losses. And as I mentioned, coming in, having won 3 in a row. And
Good
bowling
shot.
with a lot of confidence.
Definitely a little deeper on the lane than last time we saw him.
A little bit, and I will see Branden is definitely a little more deeper with a little more hook. He's playing a little more inside, so they're playing a little different lines, and you'll see a little different. Of course, we know Rob will be outside, just firing it up from the outside, trying to be around 5, somewhere around the first arrow. But Branden's a little more deeper. He's a little more inside. Very good young bowler. He bowls in our Tuesday shootout during the summer, so he bowled very well last year and did very well.
He is Bill Truman, the guru from here at Transit Lanes, going to hang out with us here for our first match as Rob Piccoli adds another strike to the list. You know, by nature of that summer challenge series that goes on here, Bill, you get to see all the top guys in town, the ones whose names we know, and maybe in this case some of the names that we haven't yet learned.
Right, and we'd like to invite anybody that would like to go against some of the best bowlers, because Mike Zarcone and all the ones that you see out are Jack Jarrett bowls in it. We've had Ryan Simonelli, some of the pros, and I know our guys enjoy when they can beat them and come out and go one-on-one with. And we have a very good bowling contingent in Buffalo of pro bowlers, and they've done well on the tour. But they also bowl on our Tuesday night, and tomorrow night will be our first win-a spot tomorrow night for anyone that didn't bowl in it last year or made less than $300 during the course of the whole last year. They can come out to try and win a spot to help defer some of their costs for the year. It's $30 a week, and we do it for 12 weeks. And we do 6 different shots. They're kind of a sports shot, but they're not a very difficult sports shot, but they just make you work a little bit. And we do it for 2 weeks, and then we change it again so that maybe if Sue really liked this shot for 2 weeks. She might not like the next
So I don't
one,
win every week.
And that's the object, is that we don't get the same views, so that everybody gets a little opportunity. We make some of them a little shorter patterns, some a medium pattern, and some a little longer with oil patterns. So
Right, so it makes it a little better bowler, and it's the best practice you're going to get. It's the best experience you're going to get.
Well, I was thinking of that. What's it like? Bill rattled off some of the names of the guys that everybody in this town knows, and if you watch this show, you know a lot of those names as well too. For a young bowler or of someone who doesn't bowl quite as consistently or to that level, what's it like to roll out on the lanes and look to your left and see Mike Zarcone or Ryan Simonelli over there?
Well, one thing for certain is that competing against people that are better than you or have already achieved a level that you have not achieved yet will make you better. You will bowl up to your competition. It'll force you to concentrate. And one of the things that I was going to touch on earlier that I didn't get an opportunity to was when we were talking about lining up. It's not just about you and your shot. You've got to be observant of where everybody else is playing on the lane. You want to see people who are bowling well and how they're approaching the lanes, how they're attacking it. And there's your opportunity when you've got the best bowlers around you to see, they're all playing second arrow. Well, you better be around the second arrow too, not be fishing around someplace else. I mean, because you have to observe how the lanes are reacting for other people too, as well as yourself. And might as well look to the best.
Sure. Well, and right now, if you wind up here at Transit Lanes matched up against Piccoli or Simone, maybe we got to start throwing those guys' name in, particularly with the way this match is going, as both guys are perfect to get this match started, as Branden here in the fourth frame will go for his fourth consecutive strike. 26 years old, as we mentioned, with a 230 average.
And he throws it awesome. I mean, this is my first time ever really seen him bowl, and he is solid at the line.
his balance is terrific.
Yep, he's got great fundamentals, and he's got great roll in his ball. One other thing I want to mention about the summer sweeper, though, back to that, is if you could say, well, I'm not good enough to take these bowlers on. And the beauty of having the format that sweeper has is that you're not taking those people on. You are taking on half the field only. So you are not individually taking on a Jack Jurek or a Brad Angelo. It's not a head-to-head match like this is. You're really only have to be in the top half of the scoring to move on. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be intimidated that you're just, well, I'm not going to beat Jack in a match because
we take a good percentage. I mean, when you consider, we got that one a little wide.
Oh, good break there.
Thank goodness for that late tumble of the 10 pin for Branden Simone.
Like I said, we take the top 24 of it, so it's with 85, 90 bowlers, it's a pretty good percentage that you can make the cut. And like I say, we do change the patterns so that sometimes what might not be real good for one bowler, the next 2 weeks will be really better for that, and then again another pattern after that. But they can make the cut, and then like Sue said, you're not bowling the person on your lane. You're bowling half the field is 24. You have the top 12 scores, and that's generally around 200, 190 sometimes to make that cut. So most of the better bowlers in West New York all feel they can throw that number. As you have said here, that many of these guys are averaging 220, 225, 235. So we look forward to them all coming out and taking a shot at trying to win a tournament during the summer.
Well, I'm pretty sure Rob Piccoli is going to be in that group because he bowls regularly here at Transit Lanes a couple nights a week anyway. That's 5 frames and 5 strikes for the 34-year-old from Kenmore, New York.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Rob Piccoli
good job there.
Rob Piccoli bowls 5 nights a week at various leagues around Western New York, which will start to quiet down as we get towards the summer, but that includes Wednesdays and Thursdays in the leagues here at Transit Lanes, and then part of the Travel League on Saturdays, which always features some of the top bowlers in Western New York. That's 7 frames and 7 strikes for Rocket Rob.
Sue, this is becoming a carry contest out there. They both can hit the pocket pretty consistently, and it's just a matter of can you knock all 10 pins down.
I think the difference here that I'm just looking at, and there's still 3 frames to go, I shouldn't say, is just that Branden is in a part of the lane where he needs to be probably a little bit more perfect. Rob's in a spot on the lane where he has some area.
He can miss by a board or 2 and still get right to the pocket. And he's picking out the 10 pin, and that's always the one you worry about from that angle. And
the best scoring direction in this place is going to be right to left, and that's going to be your best way to carry.
8 in a row for Rob Piccoli. So now Branden rocking the Pittsburgh Pirates gear there. That has to make you, as a Baseball Hall of Famer, Mr. Truman, very, very happy.
We like to see people that are interested in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
All sports.
I love to kid you about it, but it's no kidding. You are one of the true great sportsmen in Western New York.
There's another great
Baseball Hall of Famer, outstanding bowler, off-ice hockey official. We joked with Donna Perna about that on last week's show. You've done a lot of cool stuff in your life, and that's to your credit. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you very much. Yes. Even threw a movie in there just when I was.
And I didn't even mention The Natural. I didn't even mention that you had a starring role next to Robert Redford. Literally next to Robert Redford.
And baseball and all the different sports. It's been
for those fans of the movie who either you grew up with it or have seen it since then. Bill played the catcher of the opposing team, so every time you saw Robert Redford swinging in the batter's box, there was Bill looking at him. And we're looking at Branden Simone getting some great breaks
pin
here.
action and a good break, and it's not unfamiliar to see a 7-10 lift in this building every once in a while, and he almost left us one there, but great pin action, and he was able to get rid of both the 7 and 10.
That went from packing up your bags and being out to
still having a chance. Yeah. This is a great game.
So this one, boy, Rocket Rob may be on his way to a perfect game, and he still can't relax yet.
Nope. That actually helps you, though.
And so much for that. There's the old baseball announcer's jinx, right, Bill?
Nice going.
Yeah, well, sorry about that.
We'll put that on you, Paul.
I know. So Rocket Rob opens with 8 consecutive strikes, and now he'll have quite the spare challenge. And
oh no!
And that one just got away from him completely.
That is very costly when you're on strikes.
You don't do that on doubles.
So here goes Rob on the way to potentially a 300 game, and now maybe on the way to not winning this match.
He can strike out for 255.
So now Branden is completely got to get pumped up by what's going on here, and
Branden can strike out for 268. So it's going to be a very interesting finish.
So after the 5-pin open frame in the 9th for Piccoli, comes back with the strike.
This is important. If he does not strike here, all Branden's going to have to do is get decent count and spare. He's going to force Branden to have to strike by striking here.
Boy, what a turnaround in this match. And the response that he needed.
Wow.
So he'll get the fill ball here to post up the final score and put the heat on Branden Simone. Boy, what a great way to get things going here on week 2 at Transit Lanes, with a terrific match coming right down to the final ball.
Yes, it will. What a great game.
So
Rob
Piccoli responds to that crazy frame and posts up a 255.
So he needs a double or strike 9 spare to win.
So Branden Simone,
strike 9 actually. He doesn't need to make the spare, but he needs the 9.
Now again, Branden has had strikes the whole way except for a spare in the 5th.
5th and 6th.
He had 2 spares.
Mm-hmm. 2 spares, correct.
But this is a must-strike situation here. In the oil.
Will not happen.
He laid that down right in the oil. He just caught way too much oil there.
Might have thrown it just a hair harder too, trying to make sure to get it up there, but it didn't make it back to the pocket, and he's left himself the 2-pin. What a great match.
What a great match, but he will not have enough, and Rob will win this match.
Strikes out, he can go to 247.
and you talk a little bit about guys that are bowling well and have confidence, getting a few lucky breaks. I think Rob will be the first to tell you that, all of a sudden, whatever happened to him in that ninth frame to miss everything on that spare, he got a little lucky that he's able to still come up with a win here.
255 to 247.
Wow. So what a terrific match to get us started here, and a little bit of luck for Rob Piccoli gets him his 4th consecutive victory. He'll go for 5 in a row, and we'll find out how that went with Branden when we come back to Beat the Champ here at Transit Lanes. What a match to get us started this week here at Transit Lanes, 255 to 247. Branden, you're matching Rob strike for strike, and then all of a sudden you see him leave that 5 pins there in the 9th. What you're thinking when you step up to the 10th knowing you needed that first strike?
I just wanted it too much. My feet got a little fast, and that kind of ruined the entire shot. So it was a good game.
It was a great game.
Good game by Rob as well, but, sometimes you lose like that.
Right. Well, that was a heck of a debut for Branden Simone, and hopefully if you can give us matches like that, we want to have you back on the show a lot more.
Yes, sir. Hopefully I'll make it.
Bill?
Branden, thank you very much. We love when we see great scores here at Transit Lanes, and the both of you bowled excellent. It was just it's unfortunate that somebody has to lose, but you bowled well, and hopefully I'll see you here this summer.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Branden Simone with a heck of a debut, but on the flip side, it is 4 in a row for Rob Piccoli. He goes for 5 straight when we return right after this on Beat the Champ. The next challenger for Rob Piccoli is Justin Schwab, making his Beat the Champ debut, but clearly not his debut here at Transit Lanes.
No. Nope. He was practically born in here.
So if there is ever a home house advantage, it might belong to Justin Schwab, and his first frame here will result in a spare attempt at the 10 pin. 33 years old from Clarence, works in the information technology field at Catholic Health, but as Sue pointed out, he's done a lot of things in his bowling career, and a lot of them have been here at Transit Lanes.
It's still wild to see that he has wife Michelle written down here because, he just started out being a kid in the pro shop or a kid that hung around the pro shop, had a big interest in bowling, and really looked up to Jack when he was a young kid. I'm sure he still does, and he felt sort of like an adopted son to us more than, now he's a grown man with a wife.
Awesome. And that's terrific, and that's
time
a cool
passes.
story. It's got to be cool for you to have seen someone kind of you've mentored a little bit on your way up the ladder.
Well,
so
I don't want to take too much credit for him and Tim Friends' shenanigans, but those two had a lot of fun.
Separate yourself a little bit from those two guys. Gotcha.
Sometimes as a boss here, I had to turn my head to their shenanigans, but I saw a lot.
Well, for the fourth time in the last 5 matches, Rob Piccoli has opened with a strike, and he has been great at setting a tone for his matches and making the opponent sort of catch up to him.
Well, he's just almost been like a shot-making machine.
He has.
And everyone will make an errant shot. I mean, even your professionals who don't as often as obviously one of us will make an errant shot, which is what we saw here with him with the washout.
Sure.
Or the Greek church rather. But I'm just watching him make the same shot after shot after shot. It's pretty amazing watching it.
And a good strike as the pin slides over to take the 10 out for Justin Schwab.
Yep, he's got a little softer speed, a little bit more hand, so he's a little deeper, so he'll be approaching the lane a little different. I still like what Rob does here is optimum carry for him. That direction into the pocket just has the best carry.
And that one didn't have a lot of speed on it for Justin, so he'll have to come back and pull the spare down. Now, one thing interesting, we've had some questions about this, so it's something we wanted to talk about a little bit. The weight of the ball. It's not something that varies a ton, but here's an instance where Justin uses a 16-pound ball, where Rob is at 15, and most of our other competitors last week and this week have been at 15 pounds. Please explain a little bit about why you'd use a heavier one, what the advantages, disadvantages are, and whether that's something that you change. Do you change that like you change your bowling balls?
Right. Well, it's an interesting question. I know that there was that someone had reached out through Facebook or through YouTube and asked that question, and the truth be told is, like, we don't, whatever our ball weight is, that's what we use. You know, so you'll have different surfaces, different cores. When you change bowling balls, you don't change the weight of your bowling ball. And in the past, in the older days, 16 pounds, it's still 16 pounds is the highest you can get, but people felt like you had to have a 16-pound ball, that it gave you better hit. And now with the technology, you don't have to have a 16-pound ball anymore. So anywhere, between 14 and 16 is fine, and that's why you'll see most people are now throwing the 15-pound balls. You get this, you don't lose anything, and it's a little bit easier on your body not to be lugging around the 15 ball. I mean, you think of a 15-pound ball, you just think about that weight on your arm. That pound is going to make a difference, and you don't need it anymore. So in this case, it's rare that Justin throws 16 pounds, and he made a note here that he's throwing that because Jack throws 16-pound balls. So I told you, so I guess he still is a little bit
You mean very famous Beat the Champ fill-in analyst Jack Jerk? Is that what you're talking about?
But, you know, I throw a 15-pound ball.
Is there any kind of advantage to a lighter ball that you can bring down and through easier to generate more power, or does the power come from the heavier
And you know what, I think
bowling ball?
this is a real important subject when it comes to bowling balls, because you don't want it to be too light for you, because this is supposed to be, you're not supposed to muscle the ball.
Could vary your swing a little bit, right?
You're supposed to have a pendulum swing. You're supposed to push the ball out, and the ball is really, the weight of the ball is what's dragging your backswing back, not your arm forcing it. Now, if you get a ball that's too light for you, you're going to throw the ball. You're not going to roll it. It's not, and then all of that creates problems with your swing. You start pointing the ball, you start whipping it at the head pin. So too light is just as bad as too heavy, if not worse.
Back-to-back strikes for Justin Schwab, who's bowling for the first time since 2014 due to multiple wrist surgeries. That may be related a little bit to what you're talking about there, but it's good to see him back in bowling, and obviously he's matching Rob Piccoli right now.
He'd be the perfect candidate for a lighter ball if he's had wrist surgeries, but he still, you know, obviously can... if you could throw the 16-pound ball, that's fine. But I really feel like especially women think that they should throw like 9 and 10-pound balls, and that is just to be the wrong idea. You want it to be the right weight for your size, your body weight, what your capabilities are. It's not about how strong you are. You are not throwing the ball. The ball is just swinging. You are not throwing it. You don't have to think like you're just pitching a 12-pound ball and you're trying to throw it, because you're not.
Good stuff. Great stuff from Sue, breaking all that down. Well, Rob Piccoli, 4 strikes and a spare in the first 5 frames. He gets started off on the backside, frame 6, with another strike.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
So this match continues to be tight and is coming right down to the end here between Schwab and Piccoli as Rob goes for his 5th in a row. He has used that winning streak to up his overall record to 9 wins and 8 losses here on Beat the Champ. This is his 10th different show appearance, Justin Schwab's first appearance, and he's in a position to go 1-0.
Oh,
that one isn't going to help. He got lucky that a bunch of them fell, and he leaves the 2-pin, I believe, that he'll have to pull down.
He actually amped up on that one a little bit. Did not recover for him.
Justin had a 300 game as a 15-year-old. That probably got him a little bit hooked on this sport, huh?
Yep.
So a good
You're talking about
spare.
that being 18 years ago, so the scores were just beginning, to get like they are now. So it was quite an accomplishment.
He's had 4 more 300 games since then and 3 800 series. So we are moving to the 9th frame, and this one's tight, as you can see. So the 9th frame for Justin will come on lane 11. And boy, that one pin came from somewhere around Sheridan Drive to slide over and take out the 10.
Oh, we missed you.
I've had a couple of months to come up with some, to save some lines here for you. So now 9th frame for Rob Piccoli.
So that's a big shot for Justin, really, because he's down 8 pins, which is less than a mark. But that's where these strikes, then there you go.
So the
right there.
2-4 will stay up, and it'll be a spare opportunity for Piccoli in the 9th frame. Boy, Rob has flirted with some danger here, particularly none more so than the last match, where he had that 5 leave in the 9th and then came back with 3 consecutive strikes, but still had to sweat out what Branden Simone did on his first throw of the 10th frame. But other than that, Piccoli 225, 218. That was a tight match over Zimmerman last week. A resounding victory over Frank Domenico, 265 to 201. And then he won the first match last week, 210 to 186.
If he strikes out here, he can still post up a 244, which is a great score, but Justin can still get up and win this match. You cannot shut Justin out.
And again, a late little wobble, and the 10 pins, the last one to go down.
That's a big love tap right there, because that could have cost him the match if that pin would have stood.
Maybe Rob likes sort of being pushed to the 10th frames here, and maybe he likes to respond to the pressure. And hey, that's a skill in itself that you can't practice in any other way other than to be put in the position to respond when the match is on the line.
Well, we don't know what he's thinking, but he certainly carries himself with a lot of calm. He just never lets it get away from him. Big shot.
And again, as it looks like he may be on his way to a win here, I think the one thing that's jumped out at us is how we've seen Rob develop over the course of the last couple of years, just on this show. How we've seen him going from a guy that was throwing it 100 miles an hour, so to speak, to now a guy who knows when he needs to throw hard and when he doesn't, and when he needs to be a little more finesse, and that's been pretty cool to watch. Because we do talk so much about a younger generation of bowlers that are sort of obsessed with the rev rate and the speeds. So we may have to come up with a new nickname. We have to adjust it to like the missile or something right now.
Well, we didn't name him, though. He named himself.
No, that's true.
He came to us as Rocket Rob.
All right, so Rob Piccoli will post up his final score of 244. So Justin Schwab, what does he need?
He needs this first one for sure. Then he'll need some count, but this one is absolutely necessary.
So for the second match in a row. And for the second match in a row, that needed strike on the first ball of the 10th frame does not happen.
Right.
And that is going to allow Rob Piccoli to come up with another one. That's amazing. And again, here's where I think a little bit of the inexperience between both Branden and Justin comes into play. You're walking up to the line on the 10th frame, needing a strike to win, with the TV lights and everything else going on, and sometimes that's tough.
It is.
So Rob Piccoli gets himself another win, his 5th in a row. He'll look for a second sweep of a week here. In our final match against Ray Richards, we'll talk to Justin and get you ready for that match when Sue and I return to Transit Lanes. It's a great day of bowling here. We got more to come on Beat the Champ. Well, two bowlers making their Beat the Champ debuts have not prevented us from having two epic matches. And Justin, that was another epic match. Tell me what's going through your mind as you toe that line in the 10th frame, knowing you needed that strike to knock off a hot bowler like Piccoli.
I just wish I would have kept my feet slower.
Yeah,
the ball would have gone a little further right, I think, if I didn't.
Did you enjoy kind of the challenge of this match and being on this show and bowling against a guy like Rob?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I grew up watching this show, so it's an honor.
Right. All right. Speaking of grown up, Sue talked a lot about having sort of grown up, seen you grow up. Tell us something we don't know about Sue Novoisky based on your long experience.
She shows up late.
People on the Beat the Champ crew might know exactly what you're talking about. So, but we all right, we won't. We love her anyway, though. Bill, I know you know this guy well, and this isn't the first time you've handed him a little bit of winnings.
Justin, nice bowling today. It's great to be on the show. You said you sped up your feet. Branden did the same thing in the 10th frame. You know, that's when you need to take that extra deep breath, slow it down a little bit, and it's really hard to do. You want that strike so badly. Branden said the same thing. His feet got a little fast in his match. Yours in the 10th frame also. But great bowling. Glad to see you on the show.
Yep.
All right, we got to get you outside of transit lanes and see you at some of these other places then.
I'm bowling Jamestown.
All right, well, there you go. You heard it. So we hope to see Justin on that show as well, too. Rob Piccoli keeping that winning streak going. Can he do it one more time? We'll find out when we come back to Transit Lanes. Well, the man who will try to end Rob Piccoli's 5-match winning streak is Ray Richards, making his second appearance here on Beat the Champ. We saw him in Jamestown a couple of years ago, and the only other time he's been on the show where he lost to Chuck Jagodzinski, which is nothing at all to be ashamed of. So we get Ray back on the show, and he will face the big challenge of trying to shut down the red-hot Rob Piccoli, and the big high backswing from Ray Richards will give him a spare opportunity in frame number 1. 26 years old from Amherst, machine operator at Arubis in Buffalo is Ray Richards. Been bowling literally since he's about 4 years old.
Yeah, now we've got another player who is a little bit more rotation, a lot more rotation. He's got real high rev rate, and he'll be deeper in on the lane, and we'll see how Rob's projection, how his direction from right to left to the pocket, now that the lanes are starting to break down, getting a lot of play on him, and he's been really up against people who are now inside of him. That first day, other than Joe Rubrecht, everybody was a little bit to the right of him, and now he's been up against players who are to the left of him, and that will change exactly what I'm just about to say. It's going to change his spot where the ball, which was a tight hold spot for him, where there was a lot of oil. So they've broken down that oil, which is actually his hold spot. So it's going to be a bigger move for him than what would normally be, because the people inside of him are breaking down the lane. I don't know if that makes any sense, but what would happen is the ball would go high. Which
and again, last match I talked about how Rob is almost always open with a strike. Well, not only is he not open with a strike here, he opens with an open frame as he's unable to get that split. So we'll see how that changes the dynamics of how Rob is thinking and approaching things coming in on this winning streak, and how Ray may say, okay, maybe I've got a chance here to do something against not quite the same Rob Piccoli that I've seen bowl the last 2 weeks.
This is another example of not only knowing your own game, but paying attention to what's going on in the lanes, because if he's paying attention, which I'm assuming he is, he knows these players are using softer equipment and inside of his target, and they're going to wear down his hook spot. So he's got two choices. He's going to look for a ball that goes straighter and goes longer so he can stay in the same place that he is, or he's going to make a bigger move. He's not just going to make a 2-in-1. He's going to make a 2-in-1 move, and that means 2 with your feet, 1 with your eyes. He's going to make a bigger move than that. He's going to go 3-in-2 or 4-in-2, and he's going to get into another zone, because again, now the oil is deeper than it would normally be if these people were not inside of him.
And this is a little bit of uncharted territory for Rob, in the fact that this is a personal high 5-match winning streak. So he's now deeper into the lane conditions at a given house than he's ever been on this show before, which is exactly what you're talking about. He's now had to deal with all these opponents breaking down where he wants to be with the ball on the lane. So again, that's why we've only had a limited number of really long winning streaks on this show, of which Rob has the potential to move up that list pretty quickly here, but that's part of it.
Right. And you know, you can, it's another thing. You look at the people that are bowling against you. So in his case, he knows who he's coming up against if he keeps winning, or at least as he wins, he knows what bowlers are coming up. He can already assume how it's going to go, because you know where people play and you know how they bowl, and he knew these people were going to be inside of him. So he hopefully has a game plan for that.
And it's a little bit of a struggling start here for Ray Richards. Spares in the first 2 frames, and now a 4-pin leave here. What's our nickname for this one?
This is a big 4.
Okay, thanks. It doesn't have. It's not named after some building in ancient Greece or something like that. No.
No.
All right. So bottom line is, it's an open for Ray with 2 pins left. That's ultimately what it equals out to. So I'm very disappointed. I've tried my best to learn the lingo of every possible combination of leaves that you bowlers have come up with, and hey, what's that thing called where they leave 4 pins? Oh, it's called the Big 4.
It is the Big 4.
Thank you.
Great shot right there.
And there's Rob Piccoli with his first strike of the match. So remember, Rob won a couple matches where he didn't blow the pins out of the water. He did that at Lucky Lanes in Fredonia last month. He did that a little bit in the first match of the day here, where he won 210 to 186. So he's had the ability to put 250s on the board and win, and
again,
win with with a 175 or
it's
whatever. It's
all on how the lanes break down, and as long as the 2 bowlers are on the same condition, that's all that matters. Scores, those big scores are nice, and sometimes you need them when both people are lined up, and you've got that great scoring potential, by having great carry. But as things change, as long as the same 2 people are on the same lane, it's changing for both of you.
Right. So that last roll from Rob never broke, and that's why those 2 pins are left staring him down, and he'll miss one of them. So that's 2 opens in the first 4 for Rob Piccoli.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
The people to the left of him wearing down his lane condition, and that was why it went high. But he can also over move, and then that's when he's going to go light. So right now he's fishing around for a spot.
He's got his mom, his grandmother, his coworker Jordan here cheering him on, does Ray Richards. Bowls regularly on the Tuesday night league over at Kenmore Lanes. 2016 finished 7th in the Obenauer Masters, and of course the Obenauer Masters will get going in the next week or so. The 2019 version of Buffalo's most prominent and preeminent bowling tournament, and we'll see whether Ray is going to give it a shot as well. Just back from bowling is Ray. Just kind of started off about 6 weeks ago after taking off a year or so, which is part of the reason why it's been over a year since we've seen him on the show.
Yep.
But that's 2 strikes in a row to finish frames 4 and 5 for Ray. So now Rob Piccoli, who has struggled a bit here and continues to do that. 10 overall wins for Rob on the show now, thanks to the 5-match winning streak that he is on right now. He's actually won 7 of his last 8 matches, because go back to Lucky Lanes in Fredonia, he won 2, lost to Joe Ruprecht, then Joe advanced here, and Joe lost to Rob to get this winning streak started.
Yeah, he's in trouble here. Right now, this transition has kind of thrown him for a loop.
Yeah, back-to-back open frames for Rob Piccoli. Very un-Rob-like, as you can see on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. And this one looks like there's a little bit of who wants to win. The last 2 matches have been who wants to win it. This one's who wants to win it.
Right. I think Ray the last 2 shots from Ray were pretty good, so Rob's going to have to figure this out. That was a ball change right there, which is what he needed to do.
There you go. Maybe that was the key then, huh?
Just hopefully
So
not
what do you
too-
think? What do you think Rob did as far as the ball change? Why did he do it? And what kind of ball did he think he changed to?
I'm assuming he went with something that, well, see, because he throws it so hard, he doesn't have to go with something that's shiny or goes longer. If it's shiny, it just snaps more off the dry. So he just went for, I'm guessing, something that burns up the lane a little bit more. I'll have to see when he goes up to bowl. It looked like he had surface on it, which is you would think it would be a strange choice, but because he throws it so hard, it's not. And I'll explain that later when I see exactly what he threw.
That's a triple for Ray Richards, by the way.
Yep.
And now maybe he is finding his groove at just about the right time.
He's got a 40-pin lead.
So Ray Richards, who didn't strike until the 4th frame, has now gone 4, 5, 6, and 7 with strikes. Building upon that lead. Remember, Rob Piccoli has won 5 in a row, which gets him on our longest winning streaks list here on Beat the Champ. Topped by Jeremy Zimmerman's 14 from back in 2017. And that's
Definitely
a
a good
little
ball
more of what
change.
we're used to seeing. That's 2 in a row for Rob Piccoli. That was as rocket as we've seen him throw one in a while.
It's hard. It's very difficult to change bowling balls when the ball you've had reads the lane so well, and his
Yeah, and
ball,
he's coming off 255 and 244s.
Right. And this is where maybe the wet dry comes into it, because we had to move deep enough where the wet is just so wet. It's almost too wet for him. So that definitely put him in a little bit of a spot.
Lots of pin action, but not enough to take the 7 down. That would have been critical for Rob to get another strike in a row there to match Ray Richards' strike streak that he's on right now. So after 2 consecutive strikes for Piccoli in 6 and 7, that's a spare in the 8th, and now Ray slides over, running 4 in a row as he readies the 8th frame on lane 12. There's Janelle with the up-to-date numbers on the Castellone scoreboard.
Yeah, those numbers are not going to make Rob very happy. He's in a real hole here.
And that is not helping him get out of it, which is where Ray is at right now, as he's got his opponent down. Just keep him that way.
A mark here in the 9th will seal this matchup.
So it looks like the winning streak of Rob Piccoli that has gone 5 in a row may be set to come to an end. And the man to do it would be this guy, Ray Richards from Amherst. And there's the mark that he needed, and that will clinch the win. So Ray Richards gets his first Beat the Champ victory and ends the long winning streak of Rob Piccoli. We'll talk to Rob about the winning streak and Ray about the win when we wrap up week number 2 here at Transit Lanes in Williamsville. Let's watch Ray finish off the 9th frame right here. It's a win for Ray Richards. We're back to wrap it up. Sue and I are at Transit Lanes right after this. It's Ray Richards with the win that ends the 5-match winning streak of Rob Piccoli. Before we talk about this one, Rob, let's go back to the previous 2 matches of this week's show where you're bowling great, but your opponent comes to the line in the 10th frame with a chance to beat you, and somehow that things kept going your way, didn't they?
Yeah, it was pretty fortunate. I mean, kept me calm to make sure I made good shots every time I was up, so they kept the pressure on me a little.
Right. Now, in this match, Sue kind of pointed out that you made a ball change, and do you regret not doing that a little bit earlier? Because that front side was a little bit of a struggle for you.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, lanes were changing rapidly, and so I had to make a quick decision, but Ray kept striking, and pulled good.
All right, well, Rob has been one of our most consistent bowlers here on Beat the Champ, and this 5-match winning streak was a lot of fun to watch. But Sue, now you got a guy who gets a chance to start his own winning streak.
That's right. And 6 weeks just back to the game. How did you feel about today?
I got a lot of breaks.
Well, you were the first one to be able to come out and actually open up the lane. Everybody's been kind of more down and in, had a little more success carrying that way. So for that, that was a good accomplishment, shooting 230 playing where you are. But what made you take a year off?
I don't know. My grandpa passed a year ago today, so I stopped after that. And then they needed a sub, so I started bowling
What a
again.
great thing to happen for the anniversary, right? So good for you. Great bowling today.
Thank you.
All right, good job by Ray. Bill, I almost forgot to have you give Rob a nice little healthy envelope
Yeah,
here.
I didn't think I was going to get to keep these
No,
envelopes,
you do
but
not.
Great bowling.
appreciate
Super
it.
job.
Thank you.
That'll help with some summer money for you.
All right, this was a terrific show with great bowling. We got some great bowlers lined up for next week's show, including Mr. Richards. We'll preview that when Sue and I return to Transit Lanes. More Beat the Champ right after this. You know, it's always fun when we get a winning streak on this show because it kind of gives a little bit of that target for everybody. And to Rob's credit, he bowled great last week and this week. And those first 2 matches of this week's show, they were outstanding. Both guys going kind of head to head and a little bit of lucky breaks too. That's part of getting on a winning streak.
Absolutely, but then you get to see how difficult it really is to maintain it because of all the other obstacles, which is lanes changing, what other people are doing, and Rob was unfortunately a victim of that, but he bowled so good to get to that point.
Yeah, so Ray Richards gets to advance to next week's show where we've got some big names like Curtis Foss, Mike Zarcone, Dan Melodano, who bowls here a lot. So it's going to be quite the challenge for Ray to try to get on a winning streak of his own.
Right, especially after really just being back to the game after a year off and only just being back for 6 weeks. So he'll definitely have a challenge ahead of him.
Yeah, Ray Richards and Curtis Foss, our first match of next week's show. You got to erase Rob's name off of there, which you haven't had to do in a while.
I
It was
know.
fun to watch the winning streak.
I almost don't know if it's going to come off of that board. But yes, unfortunately it has to. And like you said, we have to see if these guys next week can overcome these obstacles with the lanes changing and the conditions changing of those.
Yeah, Transit Lanes is going to test the bowlers, and we'll see how they respond to that test. We'll make sure we see you join us. We'll see you next week for Beat the Champ as we continue from Transit Lanes in Williamsville.